What's going on, Kaijus? It's your boy Goji from Gojira's here, and today we are going to talk about the Challenger decks for 2019. An article just came out today as of March 18th, 2019, that the Challenger decks will be released for an MSRP of $29.99 on April 12th, 2019. The Challenger decks will arrive. Now, these are standard exclusives. You can use them in Modern and other formats, but mainly for Standard. These decks apply heavily to the current Standard meta. And I want to go ahead and just dive right on into these 4 Challenger decks. The first one is called United Assault. It is a mono-white Standard deck. So let's go ahead and run through the deck list now. 29 creatures, including 4 Dauntless Bodyguard, 4 Healer's Hawk, 4 Leonin Vanguard, 4 Sky Marcher's Aspirant, 4 Ajani's Pridemate, 4 Adanto Vanguard, 4 Benalish Marshal, 1 Hunted Witness. For instance, only 3, and it contains 3 Pride of Conquerors. For enchantments, there are 7. 3 Conclave Tribunal, 2 Legion's Landing, 2 History of Benalia. The lands, 21 planes, very simple. The sideboard contains 1 Conclave Tribunal, 3 Knight of Grace, 2 Make a Stand, 3 Shieldmare, 3 Baffling End, 2 Tokatli Honor Guard, and 1 Remorseful Cleric. So this deck is obviously a mono-white weenies build. But obviously, 4 Benalish Marshals. I'm sorry, I had to jump right into this. You get 4 copies of a rare. And Benalish Marshal, that is a very decent rare. It's 3 white for a 3/3, and it gives other creatures +1/+1. Not only that, you're getting 2 History of Benalia, 2 Mythics. That's actually pretty insane. The lead designer of this, I believe his name is Donald Smith, he was cooking up some pretty spicy stuff, and this mono-white Challenger deck looks to be pretty decent so far. The next Challenger deck that we have is called Lightning Aggro. So let's go ahead and jump into this mono-red build. There are 21 creatures, 4 Fanatical Firebrand, 4 Get 2 Lava Runner, 4 Runaway Steamkin, 4 Viashino Pyromancer, 4 Goblin Chainwhirler, 1 Rekindling Phoenix. Sorceries, we have 2 Lava Coil, and 1 Banefire, for a total of 3 sorceries. Instants, there are 12. 4 Shocks, 4 Lightning Strikes, and 4 Wizard's Lightning. For enchantments, we have 2 Experimental Frenzies. The land base, very simple again, 22 mountains. The sideboard contains 4 Fight with Fire, 4 Diamond Mares, 4 Lightning Mares, and 3 Fiery Cannonades. So, mono red. It's back. Of course it is. But this deck is actually pretty decent. 4 Goblin Chainwhirlers, that's one of the best rares for mono red. A Rekindling Phoenix, heck yeah, give me one of those. I'll just buy these I'd buy these Challenger decks just for the value alone. So, this is mono red burn, basically. The goal is to just play a bunch of low mana cost creatures, get in the damage, and burn your opponent to hell. It's a pretty interesting deck. 4 Goblin Chainwhirlers, that's pretty decent, and a Rekindling Phoenix, some value in there for sure. So let's go ahead and jump into the next Challenger deck, 3 of 4 now, Deadly Discovery. Deadly Discovery is a Golgari deck, meaning green and black. So let's go ahead and jump into the deck list. There is 1 Planeswalker for the Deadly Discovery deck. 1 Vraska Relic Seeker. There are 27 creatures, 4 Merfolk Branchwalker, 4 Llanowar Elves, 4 Wildgrowth Walkers, 4 Seeker Squire, 2 Jadelight Ranger, 3 Ravenous Chupacabra, 1 Plaguecrafter, 2 District Guides, 3 Golgari Findbrokers. On to sorceries, there are 2, and that is 2 copies of Find and Finality. For instance, there are 4, and it is 4 copies of Cast Down. 3 enchantments, and it's 3 copies of The Eldest Reborn. The land base in this one is a little bit more complicated. 2 Woodland Cemetery, 4 Golgari Guild Gates, 1 Overgrown Tomb, 2 Memorial to Folly, 8 Forests, and 6 Swamps. The sideboard contains 4 Duress, 3 Golden Demise, 2 Crowell Harpooner, 2 Arguel's Bloodfast, 2 copies of Reclamation Sage, and 2 copies of Murder. Deadly Discovery, it's an Explorer-themed deck. With a little bit more punch, you get 2 Jade Light Rangers, 2 very good rares for a Explorer deck. It explores twice when it comes into the battlefield, that's amazing. The land base, can we take a look at that for a second? 2 Woodland Cemeteries and an Overgrown Tomb? Yes, please. That is some very, very good mana fixing, and especially if you're just buying a Challenger deck. It's always good to have a Shockland, why not? And 2 Woodland Cemeteries? Pretty decent. The last Challenger deck is Arcane Tempo. Arcane Tempo is an Izzet deck, which means it is blue and red. So let's go ahead and jump into that deck list. For creatures, we have 13. 4 copies of Goblin Electromancer, 4 copies of Crackling Drake, 2 copies of Murmuring Mystic, 1 copy of Arclight Phoenix, and 2 copies of Niv Mizzet Parent. Sorceries, there are 9. 4 Chart a Course, 4 copies of Lava Coil, and 1 copy of Beacon Bolt. For instance, there are 15. 4 Opts, 4 copies of Radical Idea, 4 Shocks, 2 copies of Dive Down, and 1 copy of Blink of an Eye. For enchantments, there is only 1, and it is the 1 copy of Mirari Conjecture. For the land base, a little bit more complex. We have 3 copies of Sulphur Falls, 4 copies of Izzet Guildgate, 8 islands, and 7 mountains. The sideboard contains 1 copy of Mirari Conjecture, 3 copies of Negate, 3 Fiery Cannonades, 2 Disdainful Strokes, 1 Beacon Bolt, 3 copies of Entrancing Melody, and 2 copies of Sheevan Fire. A very interesting tempo deck that we're getting from Izzet. I'm going to talk about the land base real quick. So, in the last Challenger deck, in the Deadly Discovery, they gave us 2 Woodland Cemeteries and 1 Shockland, the Overgrown Tomb. But in this one, in Arcane Tempo, you get 3 copies of Sulphur Falls, and not a single copy of Steam Vents. Very interesting choice when creating these Challenger decks to give 1 Shockland throughout the whole set of Challenger decks. I think that's kind of interesting, and it's only Overgrown Tomb. I don't understand the reasoning behind that, so I don't know why you couldn't throw in a Steam Vents and take out a Sulphur Falls, make it a little bit more balanced. But I'm not the designer, and it's not my product. I'm only a consumer. But there you have it. Those are the 4 Challenger decks for 2019 in Standard. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Also, while you're down there, you might as well hit the like button, and you might as well subscribe and hit the notification bell. Well, that's all from me. I've been your boy, Goji from Gojira's, and I'll see you all next time, Kaijus.